it's Lisa from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for dropping by. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Well, probably not different to a lot of people, but something that I don't usually do on this channel. I was just making some bath bombs. I make quite a lot of bath bombs, so I thought I'd do a quick video on bath bombs. Now, I'm by no means a massive bath bomb expert. I do make quite a lot of them, and I make them successfully. They float, they spin, and all that sort of stuff. They're nice and hard. But as I said, there's a lot more people out there who are far more into being bath bomb specialists. So I'm doing this more of a, just watch me make some bath bombs sort of entertainment video rather than a tutorial. So in my bowl here, now I'm not going to give out the recipe for the bath bombs just because I think giving out a recipe is just so individual with bath bombs to where you live, the humidity that you're working in, that sort of thing. And one person's recipe that can work great for them will be a disaster for other people. So I do think that it's important that you try a few different recipes, and there's lots of them available on the internet, and just find something that works for you. The other thing is, if you don't have a good bath bomb recipe, is make sure that you keep it really simple. I think we can all have a tendency to add this and add this and add this and add this. Get a good basic bath bomb first, and then you can maybe play around with it. I actually use a very simple recipe for my bath bombs. Mine's basically bicarbonate of soda, citric acid and some SLSA in my main bowl that I've got here. Obviously the bicarb and the citric are the main things that you want to actually make your standard bath bomb. The SLSA has a couple of purposes really. It adds a little bit of gentle foam to your bath bomb, and it also slows down the reaction, so your bath bomb will last a bit longer in the bath. Be careful with SLSA though, because if you put too much in there, then you just end up with a sort of blob of foam in the bath, and the bath bomb doesn't actually do anything at all. So you need to be a little bit careful with how much SLSA that you put in. Okay, other people add in all sorts of stuff like kaolin clay, cream of tartar, corn flour. Some of these help make a bath bomb float, like the corn flour, that sort of stuff. Some things make the bath bomb harder, like your kaolin clay. It just depends what you're looking for. I find this works perfectly well for me. The other thing adding into my bath bomb here is, this is a mixture of oils. So liquid oil or liquid oil, sometimes you might like to put some cocoa butter melted down, something like that. And in addition to that, some polysorbate 80. The polysorbate 80 is an emulsifier, and it will help any of those oils that you've got in here mix with the water in the bath, so you don't get an oily layer in the bath. It will also help disperse the colours in the bath bomb, so you don't get a ring around your bath. So yeah, some oils, polysorbate 80, oh, and a fragrance oil as well. We want our bath bomb to smell brilliant, don't we? And then colouring wise, I use two types of colours with my bath bombs. My main bath bombs I colour with lakes. Now lakes are quite nice to use because you can see the colour of the lake, and that is generally what you get. I tend to find I use lakes at quite a low rate, something like, in the ones I'm going to do first of all, because I want a lighter blue colour than this, I'll use it at 0.5% of the weight of my bath bomb mixture. The most I'll typically use is up to 1% of the lake colorant in the bath bomb. Other types of colorants you can see would be water soluble dyes. This can be a little bit trickier because sometimes what you see in the pot, like a dye that looks orange, could turn out to be pink. So obviously you need to make sure you've got your pots labelled so you know what they are. Dyes are really, really, really strong. They will give a good colour in the bath, and they will colour your bath water really well. The reason I don't use dyes in my actual bath bomb itself, the outside of the bath bomb as it were, is because dyes fade quite quickly in sunlight. So if you are selling your bath bombs at outdoor events where it's sunny, you will find your bath bombs will lose their colour. That colour will still work in the bath, the colour will come back in the bath, you know, it will still squirt out some, you know, nice colours, but your bath bomb won't look its best. So lates are much more light, stable, as it were. Where I do use dyes is I make some bath bomb embeds. Now these are just a combination of citric acid and bicarb, and these are coloured with dyes. And these are sort of like little colour powerhouses, as they were. Okay. Now I don't do anything fussy with my bath bomb embeds. I literally make a tray of the bicarb and citric coloured, not fragranced or anything. I push it all down. I let it set up for a few hours and then I just chop it into pieces. I don't bother with an embed maker or anything like that. This to me is the fastest way to do it and works out completely fine. And this is what you want to put in your bath bomb if you want to make like little shooting different colour bits coming out. Okay, so those are my main ingredients. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I've sieved my bicarb and my SLSA, and that's what I've got in there. Now, because I want to do these bath bombs I'm making here, just a single colour, I'm going to add my lake into my dry bath bomb mixture so I can start to get it blended in. Now, your lake will be activated a little bit more when you start adding the water in. So, as I said, I use, for these ones, 0.5%. So I'm going to use, for my 2 kilo batch that I'm making, 1 gram of lake. Okay, and I do sieve it just to make sure there's no lumps. Okay. I quite often pick up a bit of the other ingredients that you've got in here and get it sieved through, make sure there's no lumps and bits. Okay, so for me, for this colour, it was 1 gram in a 2 kilo, what will be a 2 kilo mix. This isn't 2 kilos in here at the moment because I haven't got my citric acid in here. Okay. Now, if I wanted to make my bath bombs different colours, so I wanted it to be one bit blue, one bit pink or whatever, what I would do is I'd mix my bath bomb mixture up, split it into 2 parts, and then after that I would then add my colourants. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a little spin through in the mixer. Now you can do this by hand. I tend to just use my mixer. Mine's got a little hole here, so I'm just going to cover that up and let's get that spinning. Okay, so that's mixed in that colourant. Now this is not the world's greatest mixer. It's just a pretty cheap one, so I do tend to find that I have to go around the sides quite a bit and make sure everything is mixed in. And I haven't got my citric in here yet, deliberately, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my liquids. And really you want to have everything mixing together before you put your citric acid in. Okay, in go my mixes. Okay, so a little mix initially. So I'm just going to get this mixed up. Now I do give it a really, really good mix. it's sort of almost like you can't really over mix it, but the more you mix it, it seems to give better results. So I'm just gonna leave that mixing for a while. Okay, just checking everything's incorporated uniformly. Now, if you know that you actually have to add a fair bit of binder to your mix. Now, what the binder is the thing that will cause the bath bomb to really grab onto itself. What it does, it's basically something with water in. Now, some people use polysorbate 80 as a binder. I've got that in there anyway, so there will be some sort of binding action. What the binder does is it wets your ingredients, and typically something like your citric acid, if you wet the citric acid, it will start to have its fizzy reaction, and that tiny bit of wetting that we put in it initially causes that reaction to happen, and then the citric bonds with the other items. And so therefore, if you don't put any binder in at all, it's much more likely that your bath bomb will just fall apart or crack in transit or something. So typically a binder is a water-based item. So I actually just use distilled water in my bath bombs. Some people use witch hazel, some people use rubbing alcohol. They all have water elements to them. The rubbing alcohol is less likely to give you a reaction initially. Obviously you don't want these all fizzing like mad, and you've got to be careful only to put a little bit of binder in. I like water, it works for me. It saves me putting anything else chemically or whatever in my bath bombs. It makes my bath bombs really hard, and it works. I know some people swear by witch hazel. I've never used it in my bath bombs, so I can't give any advice on that, I'm afraid. And the same with rubbing alcohol. I just don't use it in my bath bombs. I've just used water, and it's always been perfectly fine. So now I've got that all nicely in there, I can now start to add my citric. I do grind my citric acid. Okay, so I get my citric acid and I do then put it through like a NutriBullet type thing. And so it's all a really smooth powder rather than, mine is quite ground, you know, it's not as big as sort of like sugar granules or anything. But I do give it a further ground, so it's much more like a sort of smooth powder than anything. Now, if you've just ground your citric, it's unlikely that you're going to have to sieve it. What I did with mine is, I was making quite a lot of bath bombs the other week, so I ground up a whole load of citric, and if you don't use it straight away, it can sort of start to lump together a little bit again. So that's why I'm just sieving this, just so I don't get any lumps of citric. But yeah, if you grind it and use it straight away, then you don't have to do this. Right, so let's get this all mixed in. And again, it's one of those things that you want to give it a really, really good mix. So just leave it going for a while. Okay, so I give mine a little pulse. Get that great colour. A good mix. Well, you need to think about, do we need to add any more binder? Now, I'm always conscious that I do want to add a little bit, so I've got some water in here. I know I've got some oils in here. So what you want to do is squeeze it together, and if it stays apart as you drop it, then it should be fine. Now that did stay together, but it just broke really, really easily. Okay, so therefore I do think I'm okay to add a little bit of binder in there. And my binder, remember we said, is a water-based item. So literally just some water. I've got some just distilled water in a squeeze bottle, and I do it with the mixer running because you don't want to do a whole blob of concentrated water onto one area, because remember this has got citric in now. So I'm going to get this all mixing really, really quickly. And just do a small amount at a time, because the last thing you want to do is add in a whole bunch of binder, water or whatever you're using, and then find that you are got your bath bomb activated and fizzing all over the place. So I'm just going to do another test of that. Squeeze it together and drop it. Yeah, that does feel, I mean, it will still bust apart if I squodge it, but there's definitely a little bit of resistance to it. So that for me is good. Now, again, it will depend what type of moulds you're using. Okay, so I'm just going to clean off this. Otherwise it sticks like rock hard to the mixer. The mould I'm using today is this adorable little shark. I get all my bath bomb moulds from Cada Moulds. Now, as you probably know if you've ever been to my shop or know the other stuff I do, I own several 3D printers, not just one. I own quite a lot of 3D printers. So in theory I could just easily print my own bath bomb moulds. The reason I don't is because I like the designs that Cada do, and I would never dream of copying and ripping off a design and making them, even if I'm making them for my own use, I still don't feel it's right if someone else has designed something to rip it off and then make it for my own use, and let alone sell it. So therefore, I always think it's important to support other people who've put the effort into creating these things. So I do buy my moulds from Cada Moulds. The only moulds I don't buy from them are the ones I use with my bath bomb press, and that I get from my bath bomb press manufacturer. Okay, so this is going to be my little shark mould. Now these moulds come in 3 pieces. You have the piece with the little sharky pattern on, ha ha ha, a base plate, and the sides to fill it up. So what I will typically do, I'll do a tester first. So I'll literally get my mould and without anything special in there at all, I will just mould it in, push it down, give it a little tap around to loosen it off. Take the top off. And then I like to use a piece of card. I just keep these same bits of card. I find it easiest to flip them over upside down. Take the top and then pull it off. So we can see there, that seems perfect, doesn't it? It's given me a nice shark. I've got the impressions have come out really nicely, and it's all kind of stuck together, so I'm happy that that's going to give me a good mix. I've got enough binder in there so I can now start making them. That one goes back in and we start again. Okay, so I'm going to be putting embeds in these. Now you might think, well, that's weird to have embeds the same, very similar colour to your actual main bath bomb. I find a bath bomb mix, even though it's got polysorbate 80 in it, when it's made with a lake, it doesn't really colour the water very much. So what I tend to do is, the embeds, these are made with a dye, and that will give a much stronger colour into the water. So what I'll do is, I'll get my Sharpie going. Put my embeds in. Now I tend to put embeds not evenly around the edge. If you want your bath bomb to spin or move in any direction, then you need to put embeds in sort of one side of it, or don't put them symmetrically. If you put symmetrical embeds evenly either all the way around your bath bomb, it's less likely to spin. You need to kind of knock it off balance a bit. Okay, so what we then do is fill that up. Sit down. And there we go. Right, I want to put them up the right way. I'm going to carry on making those. I'm not going to do them on video because I can't imagine that you would want to see too many of those being repeated. I'm just going to give a couple more hints and tips, as it were. With these types of moulds that have detail in them, I find the best way to make sure the impression comes out is to make sure they're really dry. So either wipe them down in between each go, and quite often I'll just like paint over them, those details, with a little bit of corn flour, okay, and I'll tap it all off just to dry them off. Okay, so that's one thing I do. The next thing is, a bomb like this is going to have some weak areas. Typically here is quite thin, or even by the fins, they potentially can break off. Now, I tend to just sprinkle my bomb mixture in, and then what I'll do is I will pack more into those weak areas. Now, I don't pack it down hard into those weak areas. I just make sure there's more in there than there is elsewhere. Okay, so that when you crush it down, those are naturally going to get more stuff packed into them. Okay, let's pop in my embeds. Okay, and then fill this up. Okay, again, I'm just making sure there's quite a lot put into those slightly weaker areas. Now, quite often people say, I mean, this one's got the detail here on the top. People say to, when you've got detail, to pack in around the detail to help it come out. I've never found that helps, you know, so even if I have detail on the bottom plane, it seems to vary whether the detail's on the top or the bottom. I find sprinkling it in loose and then pressing it down always works, for me, in my recipe, best. Okay, so pop that in. And give it a nice tap around. Okay, there's our top. And then I hold the top bit on so it doesn't move as I pull the collar off. Okay, and then we can take the top off. There we go. Okay, so if you find your details aren't coming out properly, then maybe make sure your mould is really, really dry. Okay, so I'm going to carry on making those and then probably come back when we finished, or I don't know, I'm going to make various types. I might put some few other ones on, we'll see how it goes. So here's all my cute little sharks all now pressed out. I had one extra that wouldn't fit on the tray, so they're all done. What I'll do now is I will leave those for about 24 hours and then we'll paint them with just some mica in some rubbing alcohol. I tend to just do some white titanium dioxide for the teeth, and then for these ones just a little bit of black for the eyes. I thought I'd start just doing one more set of bath bombs on screen because I can show you one of the things with using lakes is they come in a very limited range of colours. You sort of get red, blue, yellow, that sort of thing, and the red's sort of a pinky red. You can get two different types of yellow. That's an orange more than a yellow, so you kind of have to combine the colours together. So my hearts that I do, I make those purple. So what I do with my lakes for my purple is I want 2 grams of colourant in here because I want this to be a nice strong colour. My sharks I did a minute ago, I didn't want the full colour, the full dark blue. I wanted them to be a softer blue. These I want them to be the sort of full colour as it were, so I do 2 grams, which is basically 1% of Lake 2 bath bomb mix. So I'm going to do, to get my purple, I do a sort of 3 to 1 mix. I do 3 parts red to 1 part blue. So I've got my blue on here at the moment, so I'm going to do half a gram of the blue. And then 1.5 grams of the so-called red. Okay, and I'm going to sieve those in, and that will give me the purple that I want. And if I want a pink, for example, then I'll only put in, rather than using 1%, I might use 0.5% again, and that will get me a pink instead of the red. So it's just a case of playing around with the colours and just taking notes of what you get to help you achieve the results you want. Okay, so that, I'll just give that a quick mix up and then I'll show you the purple that comes with that. Okay, so can you see that's given us really nice purple. Obviously I'll mix that in a bit more, but you can see how they've mixed together beautifully to give us that nice purple colour. So I've got my lovely purple all mixed up. That's really nice colour. And I'm going to just do some love hearts. I do my love hearts in purple because I've got a hippo bath bomb that I do in pink. And I put them all in a big chest together. Now this Love Heart bath bomb, again from Kate Moulds. Comes with all sorts of, a bit like, you know, there's Love Heart sweets, all little phrases like hug me, XOXO, I love you, kiss me, that sort of thing. So they're really fun. And we're just going to make a batch of these. So again, this is one I don't actually press down into the words. I just find it works better to not do that. And then the embeds for these. These look a bit dull, but these will be sort of a pinky red colour. So there's the little wording, and again I've just tried to make sure that that is nice and dry, because you can you see I've got a tiny bit there caught in there, but I'll go over that with my corn flour and just leave that sitting there like that until I'm ready for the next one. And there's my heart. Now when I go and move it onto my tray to dry for 24 hours, I will flip those up the other way. Okay, so I'm just going to get on with doing those now.
So here are the bath bombs after I've painted them after about 24 hours. I try not to add too much paint, as it were, mica and alcohol to them. I just want a little accent. So here are my heart ones. And then the shark ones that we saw earlier in the video with their teeth and eyes painted in. And then I also made some clouds in this batch of bath bomb making as well. So these have biodegradable glitter on them and also embeds inside, so they give sort of a rainbow effect in your bath. These bath bombs will be available in the shop release that's happening on the 1st of July at 6 p.m. UK time, as well as lots of other things we've got, like lots of great things for your shower steamers, and some great new shower sensations, as well as, of course, lots of new soaps. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the bath bombs. If you did, it'd be great if you gave me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!